It is the 23rd of October, 2015. This is Morning Express, and it's time for us to look at something else. Today being a Friday, remember we have hot topics, but also we look at things that are happening in theater and, music production and all that. But now, looking at 2007, 2008, we had the post-election violence, and we remember that more than 1,000 Kenyans lost their lives. We still have people who are displaced and are yet to be resettled or even, sort of just given some piecemeal of some sort for them to feel like they belong to this country, Kenya. Yet, when you look at some of what the statements our heads and our political leaders and those in authority are making, it leaves a lot to be desired and a lot of work needs to be done. However, there are people who are doing something about it, and we have a play called PUMA. And I'm going to be talking or introducing to you the director of this particular play in just a short while, and we'll talk about that because it has a lot to do with us remembering where we came from during the 2007-2008 post-election violence, and it must not happen again. But first of all, here's just a clip to show you of what PUMA is all about. And now, Mkawasi Hall, the director of PUMA. Thank you for joining us, Mkawasi.
Thank you.
And great to have you. Now, let's just start with the name PUMA. As far as I know, PUMA is an animal. So why PUMA for a play like this?
Actually, PUMA is a Swahili word as well. That means pulse or heartbeat. So the whole concept of the play, the main concept is the heartbeat of the people, the heartbeat of the nation, or the pulse of the nation, either at the point of ruin or in mending. Yes.
Okay. And what is PUMA all about?
If I could summarize it, if it's possible to summarize a story, it's about the meeting of two stories. You have a little girl who is at the point of achieving her biggest dream, and you have a man who is running away from his trauma, his past, and they meet. So what happens at the point of these two meeting is what becomes a story. Yes.
Okay. And how does that reflect with post-election violence?
This is what it is. This man has a lot of baggage that he's carrying from a story that he has held on for a long time. And this story is the story of a lot of Kenyans walking around with trauma, with things they haven't had a chance to talk about over the years. And the question is, what happens to a human being when they get a chance to talk about the things that happened to them? And his background is actually a teacher who lived somewhere and went through the most horrendous experience as a result of the post-election violence. So it is a reflection of, it's a story of looking at a human being, a single human being, and what happens to him, as opposed to looking at the general sense of what happened in politics or in Kenya at that particular moment. So this is a story that simply dissects, goes back to the very particular, and looks at what happens to trauma, what happens to a man that is traumatized, what happens to the thousands of Kenyans who went through something so traumatic that for the longest time, they haven't had time to talk about it, haven't had time to share it, haven't had the platform to say, okay, here's my story. So we decided to just do this as a story, as a play, and put it out there for Kenyans, remind Kenyans what happened. Yeah.
So this story of this man, this teacher,
right.
Without necessarily preempting and talking too much about the play, because of course I'm sure
you want to come and see it. Absolutely, yes.
To get the story. But this is almost like a sample, a representative of a society that went through trauma, but did not have a chance to talk about it. Why did you not have a chance to talk about it?
Well, I look at Kenya as the way it is right now. And I ask myself that question all the time. And I think the people that I talk to all the time, like my friends in the diaspora, it's always a debate of why is it that after so many years, this is 2007, it's coming now to...
In 2015, going to
2016. Right. That's a lot of years that have passed. The question is, why is it that we don't avail the platforms for these stories to be heard? And I think the fact that we don't really have the answers is the reason why we're telling the story. Now, it is not as if there hasn't been a process of hearing some of the things that happened, because there's been the TJRC. And this is a process that went all around the country. But it is one thing for someone to keep telling their story, and another thing for that story to find a route of justice, to find some kind of, okay, this is the process of where we're going to start healing. Even if healing is a lifetime process, there has to be some kind of knowing that the country, the nation, the society, my community has heard my story, and this is the process we have decided to come to. The problem with the processes we have put together is that there's been a dead end. So what happens to TJRC? Have we heard about it yet? Have we heard about what we decided to do with all those voices? Have we decided, okay, we're going to do this county by county? Have we decided what is going to be done by the few clips that we have seen on TV of what happened? Have we decided what we're going to do with the print media of what we've decided? So it's not as if the stories have not been told. It is what happens after the stories have been told.
It's the justice
yes,
after the story.
Yes, justice, not just the justice. They also get muted. And that is part of the trauma. The fact that they get told and they get muted. So it's just a fight to keep on telling your story.
Okay.
Right.
Now, you're based in the States, but
Right.
you felt that it was necessary for you to come and do this play in Kenya.
Right, right.
Why?
It's a Kenyan story. That's one. When I
I
write,
imagine in theater that, you know, when it's a story, it can
Right.
be told anywhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it has a universal theme.
Right.
It's a kind of story that wherever you stage it, no matter where, it will come home to anybody. Because some of the human experiences that are in this particular story are shared all over the world. But I decided to put it to its primary audience first, because I just figured that it's so heavy in the themes of what goes on or what happened in Kenya, that it ought to come to Kenya first.
Okay.
And also from a very personal perspective, I just wanted to selfishly give it to my home first. So I found
Kenya
the platform
was just
here.
the right ground
It was
to-
just
to
the
have
right
that
ground.
done.
It was just the right ground.
Fantastic. Let's
Yeah.
backtrack a little
Right.
bit. And I know you were in the States when the post-election violence took place.
Yes.
And there's what you see from there
Yeah.
and where we are today. In terms of progress,
Yeah.
do you feel like we've made any progress in terms, we have 2017 coming up.
Right, right.
Have we learnt our lessons?
Politically, we're still learning our lessons, and we have made progress. I mean, the fact that we went through an election 4 years ago, about 3-4 years ago,
Well,
and
about 2.5.
yes, and the 2000 debacle didn't happen. That was progress. Absolutely, that was a lot of progress. It was something that the international community said, congratulations, Kenya.
Right.
So from personal perspective, yes, we've made progress. But we haven't arrived yet. And I say we haven't arrived because we are still a people who have to figure out where we are going to have a place where we have equal opportunity for every Kenyan. That doesn't mean that we all have to be the same. I'm just saying equal opportunity, so that every Kenyan voice is heard. Politically speaking, I still feel we need to be in a place where the ordinary voices are able to say, okay, I want to cast my vote, but I want to cast my vote without coercion. I want to cast my vote without feeling that I have to be bribed. I want to cast my vote for issues that are important to me, not for someone who is my tribe or someone that I feel is going to be famous, or someone that I feel is going to be owning a big car, therefore I can say that's my member of parliament. I want to reach a place where I can see, I as a Kenyan can say, my issue is water. And I'm going to vote for the guy or the lady who is talking about water issues so passionately, and I don't care whether that person has this much money or what their name is, whether they have a family background or a godfather somewhere. So I think we still have a long way to go to get our politics to the issue level. Now, when we get to that level, then we are a step up, and we'll continue to work towards another journey. Yeah.
All right. Now, sometimes when you're in an environment, you
Right.
kind of get sucked into the way of thinking and
Right.
the way of operation. But for you who's possibly looking at Kenya from the States,
Right.
you're interacting with people who maybe have a different political system, different way of thinking, different way of voting.
Yeah.
What do you think plagues us, and where do we go wrong in terms of our politics not being issue-based and we are more personal based.
Right.
We look at, like you've mentioned,
Right.
who's got a big car, who can bribe me, who can,
Right,
make
right.
me make gains.
One, I think the struggle for material things. I think that sometimes when people get into politics, it's a struggle of where I'm going, how I'm going to cushion myself and my people, so that by the time I'm out of politics, I'm in a safe place. I have a soft ground to fall on. That's one. Another thing that plagues us all the time as Kenyans is tribalism. And, we have a generation for whom this is just nonsense. Tribalism is just total nonsense. I walk around Nairobi, I interact with my cast members, and none of that ever comes up. I mean, it is the kind of thing that only comes up during politics. That's my analysis. And unfortunately, when it is used during political times, it spreads so quickly. It's like a virus. And the ordinary people find a reason to use it. So that is something that we really have to take care of. Now, it is not to say that our politics are inferior to, say, the politics of America. It's just different politics. Because if we are to compare, say, tribalism with racism, my friend, I think we look like angels. Because racism in a place like the US is another animal altogether. So it is not to say, oh, those African countries or that African country called Kenya is so tribalistic that they yet have to get to the level of the so-called developed world. No, no.
We all have our different demons.
We have our different demons.
Yeah.
And as far as looking at the social fiber and counting ourselves as equals in the sense of the human race, we are far ahead, really.
Okay. All right, so let's come back to the play.
Right.
And in reference to what you see happening politically,
Right.
even to this day, some of the statements that are being thrown left, right, and center by our political leaders, how does that make you feel?
Sad. The one that I remember, which I'm still grappling with, is I came to a place where, a time when they were holding rallies, prayer rallies. I don't know if that is, I think there's some that are still going on,
Yes,
have
they're
been
still going
planned. And the first question that struck me was, what about prayer rallies for the 1,300 or so who died? What happens to the person that needs a prayer so badly, but the person doesn't have a place to just scream and shout, come on people, I need thousands of you to come together and also pray for me. And these prayers are a political tool. So we have to look at them from that angle of this is political theater. They're not necessarily going to church and praying, because every day, every Sunday, whenever it is, people do go to church and pray for those people that suffered. That happens. But you see, these are closed doors. These are not places where that voice is shouted or projected outside of those walls. So when you have a prayer rally, you're pretty much creating a political force. And we want the same political force created for the people that were victims, the people that suffered. Why does it have to be for just a politician or somebody else who is standing trial? And I'm not saying that these people do not deserve prayer. They do, absolutely. They have loved ones, they have people that support them. I'm just saying that we ought to be at a place where we also see the muted voices and create this same political force that we call prayer rallies. And for them.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, to the play, your objective. What do you intend to achieve once people have watched the play? PUMA?
One, memory. I really hope that we will have stirred up memory again, because one of the saddest things that happens, and it's my observation, is that we kill memory, or we go to very desperate extents to kill memory. There's the guy Milan Kundera who said the struggle of people against power is the struggle of memory against forgetting. So if you're struggling against oppression, it's the same struggle not to forget. If we forget, it means we're going to go back to the same place.
Absolutely.
And hopefully at the end of this play, people will be saying, we remember, and we're not going back. We remember, and we're not just not going back, we will not mute the voices again. So hopefully the play is going to be a way of saying, okay, this is another way of reviving memory, so that Kenyans will not be the kind of people who will, for a long time, just keep things muted, and not get to the place where we will give a platform of justice seeking, whatever it is that we need to seek for the people that that suffered from the trauma.
As a society, do you think we are closed up, and a play like this maybe would help us open up and actually say that there is a forum that is required for that muted voice you're talking about to project itself?
It's another way. The play is another way. I would say it's a fresh way, because you know, something happens. People scream, you're not heard. Then they whisper, you're not heard. Then they go around market squares and they're not heard. Then one day you say, let me tell you a story. Then somebody says, Then now you get someone's attention.
And stories have always been a very interesting way of communicating.
Yes,
right?
So it is another way of people putting out their voice in a way that wasn't done before. I think the play is a magnificent story, not only from the PEV perspective, but it tells a human story, beautiful story about children. It's also about protecting the innocence. It's also about not being too quick to destroy the playgrounds of our children. It's about the next generation and what we're going to do about them.
All right. As we summarize charges, where is the play going to be?
It's going to be the Kenya National Theatre.
Or the revamped?
Yes, the revamped Kenya National Theatre. We like to say that it's the first major production there. Major because it's running for a month.
Or for a full month?
It's running for a full month.
Okay.
Beginning November 10th to December 10th. Everybody has to come and see this play. And the reason is that, one, you will get entertained. It is a good story. You will get entertained, and you will see theater that has brought in different parts of industry together. I would like to say that theater is a product just like creating, say, a Mercedes, a car. And what comes into it are all kinds of different sectors: engineers, marketers, designers, CEOs, all these. It's the same thing with the theater show. The show, for you to buy that seat, which is 1,000 shillings only, which is 1,000 shillings, a lot has come in for you to sit there. We have engineers, believe me, we have marketers, we have publicists, we have production managers, all kinds of industry people who've come in to make this play a reality. Come and see the show. You'll get entertained. You will see a wonderful story.
All right. Thank you very much, Mkawasi Hall. That's the director for the play PUMA, which is telling a story about a teacher who has a lot of baggage. And, well, let's find out once we get to the play what that baggage is all about. But the crux of the matter is, as a country, we also have a lot of baggage that needs to be dealt with, and this must be done. Especially looking at the statements that some of our leaders are making, really, it leaves a lot to be desired and a lot of work to be done. Well, that's where we're going to summarize this part of the interview for now. But when we come back, we'll be looking at the hot topics that have been making news this week. This is Morning Express. Stand by. We'll be right back. YouTube at some point, but